Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time we defeated our strongest opponent yet, the Dragon King, and now we're about to uncover the mastermind behind both these games. Though I'm sure many of you have already guessed who it is.
Oh, Goddess, will you please stop? Is this not enough? Your sister regrets all she has done. If you look closely at any of Yune's actions and their unintended consequences, you will see they were all born of fear. Fear that you would expunge her from yourself. If you would but allow her back within you, this would surely never happen again.
Yune is chaos. She is an imperfection in my being. It is because of her that I have done this thing that cannot be undone. No matter how I admonished you, you would not stop fighting. There was nothing I could do. Every day my beloved children were killed. Killed by others of my beloved children. With every death my rage and sorrow grew, until I could control myself no longer. My emotions burst forth, and I raised the land. Furious storms savaged the heavens. Roiling waters rose in tremendous floods. Lives were lost beyond count. I will purge chaos from within myself. Never again will I allow myself to commit such atrocities. I will become a goddess to properly guide and protect my people. I will become perfect.
But to nullify half of your being, we were terribly, monstrously wrong to suggest it. You shouldn't have to bear the weight of our foolish ideas.
I was just lonely. My other half spent all her time worrying about the Laguz and Bjork. She said she was going to erase me. I was only playing. I never meant to hurt so many.
I understand, Yune.
I won't do it again. I love all of you too. You paid attention to me. I don't want to go away. It would be lonely, and I don't like being lonely. I want to stay here with all of you.
Goddess, I have a suggestion. If we here of our own will were to make a pledge to coexist, there would be no need to erase Yune, would there? In which case, we give you our solemn oath. Never again will either the Laguz or Bjork seek the extermination of the other. Soen, Degenzia, this is agreeable, is it not? I do not accept your pledge. Why? I cannot believe you. You are living creatures created in our image. You cannot seal away your instincts with reason. You are like us. You feel profound sorrow, anger, fear. A conflict will surely arise to overwhelm your reason and discipline. You will be unable to master your emotions, and I may once again make the mistakes that have led us here. The only way to prevent this is to expel expunge chaos completely. Yune must not exist. My decision has not changed.
In that case, Goddess, would you consider an alternative to such drastic measures? We shall use the power of Sade magic to seal Yune in this medallion. Someday, and it may be in the far distant future, someday we may be able to earn your trust, Goddess. In the hope of that day arriving, refrain from annihilating Yune, please.
In my eyes, imprisoning Yune and destroying her are the same thing. If the chaos and disaster that Yune begets can be averted, I have no objection. I do not know, however, if Yune will submit to such confinement.
Goddess Yune, please hear me. I will never give up. Someday, I will see you restored to yourself. Please. Do not look so sad. I will always be with you. I will sing to you. You will not be lonely. I promise.
So just before the final confrontation, we're finally understanding what led us here, and what caused Ashura to become the way she is now. It's interesting. Like, I feel that, okay, it's kind of hard to explain, but Ashura and Yune, I find it's one of the most interesting take on gods that I've seen in a video game, and many people do just view this as just another generic RPG party kills god plot, and I think it's actually a bit more nuanced than that. Sure, Ashura is crazy and order-obsessed, and pretty much evil now, but we actually get to see what made her that way, and we get to see that she used to be a lot more reasonable, and everything happened as just a response to one tragic event, and she just decided that the best thing to do was to get rid of the chaotic part of herself completely, not realizing that, as we'll see in this dialogue, it affected her pretty badly. It's kind of like the equivalent of trying to get rid of your shadow in a Persona game. Nobody can be perfect, and if you try and get rid of the imperfect parts of yourself, it's just not possible. Now this speech here is a little bit longer in the extended script. Basically, Yune says that she's felt some of Ashura's thoughts, and that the two of them have a powerful influence on each other's bodies, which she kind of explains here, but she says it in more detail in the extended script, and that if one of them is taken away, as you can see, the other becomes slowly more extreme. And Yune is Ashura's emotions, so Ashura herself at this point is pretty much incapable of feeling anything. Which means she couldn't listen to reason even if she wanted to. Thankfully, we have a goddess of our own on our side. This speech is a little bit longer in the extended script as well. But this is something that I also find interesting. I alluded to this much earlier in Part 4, towards the beginning. Now, there's a very unfortunate omission in the Null Mode script here. In the extended script, Yune specifically says that she wasn't alone because she had Ike's mother, Eleanor, and Mist, and they both sung to her. She said they were never, like, their songs don't have the same effect as Heron Galdrar, but more importantly, it was those songs that comforted Yune and made her realize she wasn't alone. And I find this interesting because in some ways, I think both Eleanor and Mist's personalities may have rubbed off on Yune. I said much earlier that I feel that Yune could have potentially become just as bad as Ashura had she been alone the whole time. As Yune mentions here, Ashura had pretty much no company while she slept. And as a result of that, it pretty much drove her insane. Though there is one more detail about Ashura's condition that I want to go into later. Let's just say Ashura wasn't entirely alone, but that her company was nowhere near as big of a positive influence as Mist or Eleanor. You haven't heard this song before. See, everyone closest to Sanaki doesn't mind. Really, it was only the senators that made a big deal out of it. Unfortunately, Ike's gonna have to break up this happy reunion. Sepharon was the Emperor to Zelgius's Darth Vader. That's how I've always seen it. By the way, many people guessed that the Black Knight worked for Sepharon all the way back in Path of Radiance. Remember when the Black Knight fought Ranulf at the port? It was Sepharon who suddenly appeared and told him to stand down, and the Black Knight obeyed. Yeah, we remember that detail. Let me just slow down here for a second, because there's actually a pretty big extended script omission as well here. In the extended script, Sepharon and Sanaki talk about how Ashnard knew the Black Knight was not completely loyal, which is something that he did say himself back in Path of Radiance, but Ashnard liked it. He loved having a traitor around, so he could always feel like his life was at risk. And then Sanaki just says it's no wonder they called him the Mad King, and then we go to this line. I think Ike has every right to be angry here. In the extended script, Sepharon begins this line by saying, "You're half correct and half not." Because while he didn't order Gawain killed, he did still order this. So, often in Fire Emblem games, the evil king is being manipulated by a higher-up villain who's a magic user. It seemed like this wasn't the case in Path of Radiance, but as revealed in Radiant Dawn, that was true all along. Sepharon is the true Garneth of this series, though unusually for the trope he's a light magic user. Strange thing here is that these lines aren't in the extended script. So, yes, Sepharon is another one of those JRPG villains who's lost faith in the world and wants to destroy everything. What? You mean that guy who appeared as an NPC in Path of Radiance with ridiculously high stats and a skill that made him invincible was the Mastermind all along? I never would have guessed! This is, again, something that many people figured out at the time Path of Radiance was released. This song's actually great, I love this song. I should point out, though, that this line here, this entire scene, in fact, only plays if you unlocked Ike's memory scene. If you didn't, Ike simply says, after Sepharon says, I did, Ike just says, that's all I needed to know, I'm gonna make your death the most painful one imaginable, and then it just cuts straight to the battle. But we get a lot more dialogue if you saw Ike's memory scene. Viewing Ike's memory scene also affects Ike's boss dialogue with Sepharon as well. It's very short if you didn't, but if you did, it's expanded quite a lot. He's completely forced the issue. Now, according to Serene's Forest, these lines from Yune are not in the Japanese version. Well, that's interesting, though we can kind of put two and two together by listening to the voices in those cutscenes. In the extended script, Sepharon hinted at his true identity much earlier in this conversation. Before he went into his big rant about how he wants to free the goddess, he mentioned that he needed to take the medallion back from Grail because it was originally his. And that he was the one who gave it to Lilia, the Heron Princess, 23 years ago. That's kind of important. The other thing I just find really interesting about Sepharon is that he's oddly cheerful for someone who's about to fight you to the death. Especially lines like that. And even his boss conversations, he's just so bizarrely casual about everything. His conversation with the Laguz Royals are particularly good. But before we go over the map here, we actually have two new additions to our party. Gareth. Gareth has the best physical tanking stats in the game, which are practically useless since from this point on, every generic enemy uses magic, and the only physical attacks we'll be encountering are a few moves the final boss has, and they vastly prefer magic. Gareth is very weird in that his actual stats don't really matter at all. So, I think a change of bio is necessary. Blood Tide is one of the most useful skills in Endgame. It gives +5 strength and +5 skill to all adjacent allies, and it stacks with Ina's Blood Tide. With the right positioning, Ina and this Blood Tide skill can allow you to complete Endgame 5 in one turn. Additionally, since Blood Tide joins during Endgame, they don't take up a slot in your Endgame team, so they don't really compete with anyone for deployments. You're probably not going to be using Soph from this point on, so if you kick him out of the team, you get a free slot that might as well be used on Blood Tide. Many people think bringing Blood Tide to Endgame 5 is a bad idea because it's very hard to protect it, seeing as its wielder dies to a faint magical breeze. This is actually not true. Blood Tide's wielder has a lot of HP, there are Wardwood tiles to give his resistance a bit of a boost, and it's easy to draw the spirits away from him either by weakening the final boss's auras or by equipping Provoke on a character who doesn't have a ranged attack. So overall, Blood Tide is one of the most useful characters to deploy in Endgame 5. Gareth? Who is this Gareth you speak of? There is only Blood Tide. And Nasir. Unlike Blood Tide, Nasir's stats actually are relevant at this point in the game. He has a ton of magic and resistance, so he takes barely any damage from the 90% of attacks you'll be seeing from this point on, and his magic stat is so high that he hits very hard even against magic users. Unfortunately, he is painfully slow. He's not going to be doubling anything anytime soon. But what he can do is help others double. Nasir comes with the final one of the dragon buff skills, White Pool. This one gives +5 magic and +5 speed to adjacent allies. The +5 magic is okay for helping you do a bit more magical damage to the final bosses, but what really matters is the +5 speed. Turns out, there are a large number of classes whose speed cap is just barely off doubling the final boss. Ike's Vanguard class happens to be one of them, but White Pool pushes their speed just high enough for them to do so, effectively doubling their damage output in that fight. Because of this, you definitely want to deploy Nasir in Endgame 5. And for this chapter, I am actually not going to deploy Gareth, because there are a lot of enemies in this map that can teleport infinitely and have thunder magic, so yeah. It's definitely possible to keep him alive in this map, but I'm going to be using him in the next one, not this one. I am going to bring Sanaki though, because Sanaki, well, I want to show something interesting between her and Sepharon. Okay, now it's time to reposition. Actually, wait, before that, we have some new info conversations. I want to do this one first because it's much shorter. There are actually 3 variations on this conversation. Forgive and forget is what happens if both Nasir and Gareth survived the previous chapter. You also have alternate versions for if only Nasir survived or if only Gareth survived. The content is pretty much the same, but one of them just isn't present. And they've explained they've already been blessed, so that's good. Yeah, pretty short. If they both died, you don't get that conversation at all. Now, this one's a little more special. This conversation is only available on a second playthrough, and it requires you to have recruited both Nasir and Gareth. And brace yourselves, this is a pretty long one. It's also a little bit unfitting that the preparations theme plays through this conversation. So everyone's gonna get to hear the real story. Some of this we already know from Jill and Let's B support in the last game. But we did not know that! That was, however, very heavily implied from some of the earlier memory scenes. It was a very different time. So yeah, back then those were the only two nations, and that was also mentioned in that support that I just talked about. And so their child was the first ever branded. They were treated very differently then. Unfortunately, that happened. And something that, considering that he has the mantle skill here, I'm not sure how long he's had that for. I know he had it since Path of Radiance, but the mantle skill, it just has interesting implications. You can only be damaged by weapons blessed by Yune, so did Ashura's blessing to Leron actually make him immortal? If you check the, like in the art book, which was not released until way later than this game came out, but the art book has average life expectancies for all the Laguz tribes, and Leron has lived far longer than an average Heron is supposed to. So maybe he was in fact immortal. I admit I can kind of see where they were coming from. The fact that Leron moved to Goldoa is actually referenced in, because I'm not bringing to Kurth-Naga, I can say this here, Kurth-Naga's battle dialogue with Sepharon. Kurth-Naga says that he actually did meet Leron a few times in his life, but only vaguely when he was just an infant. And that's how that happened. But they age more slowly. And also that. And yeah, that's actually a plot point. That was brought up earlier in both Path of Radiance and in this game. So the Laguz can be just as bad as Bjork in that regard. And the whole time, Digintia never did anything about this. And that's why in that cutscene, that apostle was branded. And yeah, like I said, that's a long conversation, but a pretty important one. So now we know the true history of the Branded. Unfortunately, Leanne and Nasala are not on an A support yet, so for this chapter, I'm gonna have her just be carried by him for the whole thing, even though it means that I won't be able to kill things as efficiently. However, you two can get to an A, I guess. Might as well. Not exactly the best of bonuses, but still, it's better than nothing. Doesn't really look like there are many other supports that can increase, though. Okay, also, bonus experience time. Ike only needs 1. Gonna have to do a lot of bonus experience here. No real reason to conserve it at this point. Alright, let's see. Can actually cap out Edward. And I also just realized, I forgot that I promoted Edward early. That's why his stats were behind Mia for so long. But Edward and Jill are now capped out. Fittingly, 2 of my Dawn Brigade characters are capped out. I might as well give Mia a bonus experience level. Okay, that's now capped skill. Now 1 more. This should probably cap her luck. Yes, it did. Nice. So you have cap luck. That's an advantage you have over Edward. I suppose I can give Rolf 1. Rolf's definitely behind in his levels a bit. Okay, that's actually cap strength. I was wrong earlier about it being 37. It's actually 36. And let's level Soren up. No real reason to be stingy with our bonus experience now. Guess I can level up you, which should hopefully cap your strength. Yep, that is cap strength. I mean, Aaron really doesn't need any more stats than he already has at this point, although extra resistance might help. Helios, I suppose you can take a level up. Suppose I can give Ike a bonus experience level to try and cap out his resistance before the end of the game. I think 1 more point and his resistance will be maxed out. But I don't have enough to give Ike 1 more level. But I can level up Nasala once. Not quite maxed out on speed though. But his speed is still high enough to double everything in the game, so it's not really necessary. I think that's fine. Now, skills. I'm okay with Ike's skill set up for now, although parity might actually be better than Nile at this point. Because it's not like we can get Ether on the bosses at this point anyway. I'm still okay with Micaiah's skills. Can get rid of Dragonfoe now. So I can give Rolf something else. How about... Actually, Paviz might not be a bad idea given how high your skill is. Okay, Aaron currently has Provoke. I think I don't want that on him, because all of the enemies at this point are magical. Instead, you'll get... your strength is pretty good. I might as well give you parity. Disarm. Disarm's actually useless from this point on, because we can't actually... Well, I mean... Don't think it works on lock weapons, so I don't think we can actually disarm Sepharon. And the enemies in this chapter, their weapons are undisarmable, because they're not even physical weapons, you'll see. I wouldn't mind Provoke on Nephany for this chapter, actually. Because she has better resistance than Aaron does. I'm fine with Peleus. Oh yes, Kurthnagar has Form Shift now, and thankfully it's a free skill, but it does still take up a skill slot. Gareth has Blood Tide, and yeah, something that I want to do here, I'm going to get rid of Nasir's Nile. That is the last Nile, so now we have 4 of them. So, by the next chapter, it's important that all of our best fighters get Nile skills. Or parity. Parity's arguably better than Nile for the next chapter, given certain things. Yeah, I think I'll distribute Nile skills in the next chapter. Okay, so time to show off this map. Now, the interesting thing about this map is, at this point, every single tile on the map has a terrain effect. However, the plus 10 defense cover tiles are a bit of a lie, because all the enemies on this map are magical, so they don't actually do anything. But we also have new cover that gives 15 defense, again pointless, and 5 evasion. This cover, which gives 15 evasion and 10 defense, and heal cover, which gives 15 evasion and also heals you, as it says, and you're standing on the 15 evasion cover. And the enemies here that we'll be fighting are spirits. I really like this. I think it's a pretty cool idea. So spirits have been alluded to throughout the Fire Emblem series, but this is the first time they've made a physical appearance. Unfortunately, they have no battle animations. I think it would be pretty cool to see what they actually look like in battle. But, as you can see, their movement is infinite. They're like Gaiden witches. They can teleport around the map at will. At this point in the game, there's absolutely no room for weak links in your party. So anyone who can potentially die to spirits should not be here. The spirits don't attack Herons or Micaiah, surprisingly enough, but they apparently do attack Sanaki. Thankfully, her resistance is pretty high. Though I think a lot of them may double her, so yeah, that might be a problem. So yeah, we have 3 types of spirits: wind spirits, thunder spirits, and fire spirits. They all have these weapons, which have infinite durability and can't be removed in any way. And then we have Sepharon himself. His stats look fairly impressive, but he's actually not that bad. He's really just your average squishy mage. He goes down pretty quickly due to only having 50 HP. However, oh, by the way, he does have an exclusive spell. And he can also rewarp, and he also has this, the Rudol gem, which can't be stolen and gives him plus 10 defense. But the Sepharon does have one, also he has Mantle and Coroner. And yes, he had this skill back in Path of Radiance, but there it didn't restore HP equal to luck. Sepharon, though, has one trick up his sleeve, and annoyingly the map never actually tells you about it. So, these spirits that are adjacent to him, they have an invisible guard skill. In fact, it's an even better version of guard that always works. As long as there is a spirit adjacent to Sepharon, any damage that he takes will be redirected to the spirit. So in order to start attacking him, you have to destroy all spirits that are adjacent to him. So that's interesting. Anyway, though, let's see what we do here. Okay, Nephne can double most of those spirits. Able with a Londite is going to be very, very useful here. Does Mia still have... she only has 9 Tempest Blade uses left. You know what? Don't think I need that anymore. Do I have... Oh, I don't even have any Wind Edges. Wow. Okay, then. But I think Edward has an extra one, doesn't he? Only 4 uses, but it's better than nothing. Okay, got a Lincia there. You need to go close to Nisala. Jill should probably start pretty far forward. Rolf's going to be good for getting rid of spirits, as is Peleus. Peleus is actually going to have weapon triangle advantage with Balberoth against every enemy on this map, which is going to be pretty cool. And I think that should be good. So, let's get ready to fight the Mastermind. Okay, so yeah, Wardwood, very, very, very useful during this chapter. Unfortunately, you're standing on super, super, super cover. So yeah, the cover tiles do work for the enemy, they're just not really effective for you. That, however, is heal cover, so... Edward can afford to go for this one. And one annoying thing about spirits is, like I said, they don't actually display battle animations. And because of that, last chapter was your only, was your last chance to hear, what was it again? Oh yeah, Finale in Fear. Last time we'll be hearing that song. Even with animations off, this spell takes a ridiculously long time. But yeah, no more battle animations against generic enemies. Okay, that there is Wardwood. Getting a support here, which is kind of nice. This is also the last time we'll be hearing Ascent, but it's still great. It's played for 4 chapters. Anyway, I want to get rid of as many spirits as I can this turn, because otherwise bad things can happen. I was kind of hoping for ether there, but oh well. Basically, at this point, I'm just advancing forward and getting rid of any spirits in my path. Always attack from Wardwood where possible. Yeah, the fact that every single enemy on this map, well, at least I double U, that every single enemy on this map is magical. It's kind of an interesting gimmick for a Fire Emblem stage, especially a late game one. But in this game, many characters have good resistance, so it's usually not that bad. Okay, yeah, Sanaki is getting doubled. And Cymbeline still drops a gigantic sun on the enemy, even... crap. Kind of figured that would happen, because weapon triangle. Well, that was an eventful battle, wasn't it? Now, I guess I can show this. The spirits don't fight back against Micaiah. I kind of wish they had that behavior for Sanaki, though. That kind of makes more sense to me, honestly. I guess they're not going for her because they think she's Une. That's, I guess, how I'll interpret it for now. But yeah, nothing really that much else to this chapter other than move forward, make sure that any dragons you bring use Lagoo's gems or Lagoo's stones, otherwise bad things will happen. Well, that's pretty good. That's weird. I don't have Nullify on Jill, but she didn't seem to be taking bonus damage from Thundertail, which is strange. Okay, and Nasia does have a Lagoo's gem. Gonna actually send him pretty far forward because he actually does pretty solid damage to the enemies in this chapter. Actually, he has some of the highest attack power of anyone here. And I'm going to actually have to go ahead and do that, even though I really don't want to. I forgot to give you... Dang it, I forgot to give you... Savior. You're both equally accurate, so let's do that. There's not really that much to say about this chapter. Just move forward and gradually kill off the spirits. Well, it doesn't actually matter what kind of terrain Micaiah stands on, because nothing on this map can hurt her. Sepharon will not fight back against Micaiah either. Or Sanaki, but Sanaki's case is a little special. I did not know spirits were worth that much experience if you had Paragon. I guess Micaiah's level is extremely low for this point in the game. Let me see, you've got 2 fortifiers left. I may want to save those for later. Silence does actually work on spirits. Not entirely sure if Sephiron's immune to it or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was immune to silence. I mean, admittedly, his resistance is so high, the chances of you actually hitting with silence are pretty much null. Okay, yeah, good thing I saved Fortify because Sepharon also has AoE attacks. This is magical AoE and it looks amazing. Yeah, that's AoE attacks for you. Yeah. You're unfortunately on a cover tile. Yeah, that doesn't look like it's effectiveness bonus. That's interesting. I kind of thought you'd do that. That probably is effectiveness bonus. But it missed anyway. Doesn't really look like it is, though. Yeah, I kind of figured they all go for Nasala. They do like to gang up on people who can't counter. The best way to lure spirits away from low resistance characters like Gareth is to put Provoke on someone without the ability to counter at range. Like this. If I had Provoke on Nasala, yeah. The spirits love going for that, so many people think that Gareth just dies all the time in Endgame. And by the way, spirits just constantly spawn on this map. But yeah, many people just think Gareth constantly dies in Endgame and it's impossible to protect him. It's really not. You guys are all annoyingly positioned, though, because that is... Yep, that's all Wardwood. However... I guess I can put you in heal cover. You're on Wardwood, not cover, so against physical attacks, you're pretty weak. At this point, I should probably be focusing more on... Is there a better place I can go to? Yeah, I'll go to the heal cover. Nice one-shot there. I should probably be picking off the spirits surrounding Sepharon. It's really not... Like, this map overall, if you approach it the right way, it's actually pretty simple, but, really, the only reason I'm going to have to stall this one out is to try and get Nasala and Leanne to an A support. The annoying thing there is that Serene's Forest doesn't actually know how long it takes for them to get to an A. And that's not doubling, but you do have a Brave Lance, which will make you unable to counter at range, but I guess I can use it. And you got Adept anyway, so that was pointless. We at least get to hear more of Ascent here. Since the enemies don't have battle animations. Flare, maybe? Nope. Also, Micaiah will be, let's just say I'll actually be giving Micaiah's SS Light Tone to someone else starting in the next chapter. Should I Tempest Blade you? Yeah, it's probably for the best if I Tempest Blade you. It's just not the same without being able to see battle animations on True Blades, but anyway. Oh, Nasir can't quite... Well, he can attack this one, but that guy's on Wardwood. Still takes a lot of damage, though. And yeah, this means that, actually the only way to see Nasir's battle animations while he's on your side, that probably explains why Gareth, like, when I fought Gareth in the last chapter, his bright red palette actually really surprised me, because, yeah, the only way to actually see Nasir... Are you serious? 1 HP off. The only way to actually see Nasir and Gareth's battle animations while they're on your side is to have them fight Sepharon or the final boss. And usually you don't do that because they're mostly used for their buff skills, but Nasir's still pretty strong. Okay, at this point I guess Peleus will Fenrir, actually, yeah, no it won't. Again, 1 off. Kinda wish I did bonus experience, 1 more level on Peleus. Ina's actually not particularly I say that and then she does nothing. As much as I would like Sanaki to take out that Wind Spirit, I also want... I'm stupid, I forgot to give Sanaki Meteor again. Basically, there's something that I really want to show with Sanaki and Sepharon. It's interesting, and it's actually a very unique instance of something in this game. Spirits do not have Mantle, you don't actually have to use Blessed Weapons against them, but... Blessed Weapons are cool. I still don't like how Balbereth looks, though. I should have given Nasala Savior, but it's a bit too late now. Probably didn't need to do that, but anyway, because I have Elincia to heal. And yeah, the only person that I really need to heal at this point is Jill. Kind of a shame that Elincia has to be healing and not actually attacking, because she's not bad at killing off spirits thanks to her infinite use personal brave weapon. And Jill will, surprisingly enough, Jill actually does have special boss dialogue with Sepharon, and it's actually pretty cool. However, there is one person that I really want to get special boss dialogue with Sepharon, and he's all the way up there. Hang on. I can use Fenrir, though, even though Fenrir won't do anything. Peleus' special boss dialogue with Sepharon is another conversation that many people used to think was required for unlocking a special epilogue scene, but it's not. Okay, there is Sepharon's snipe attack. I love how Sepharon has multiple one-liners, though. Not a lot of bosses have that on her. That is definitely magical. And it barely did anything. To directly quote Tiban, Sepharon is not the big bad evil guy he likes to portray himself as. He's really not that difficult of a boss. So, of all the endgame chapters, I mean, this one's, like, it's more for story than gameplay, giving you some closure on, you didn't even attack. Oh, I know what you're doing. You're filling out, Sepharon's guard. That's what you're doing. Okay, I'm guessing you're not gonna go for Edward. Interesting. I think I wonder if, because I think characters get support points by fighting while adjacent to someone. I wonder if that counts if you're, what are you doing? Yeah, spirits like to waste their time teleporting to two locations that wouldn't make a difference, but it's weird. And, yep, I knew you'd be doing that. Well, at least Nisala's keeping the spirits away from everyone else. Guess he's kind of atoning for all the backstabbing he did earlier in the series. I'm kind of okay with this. And more spirits. Not that they're really much of a threat. Yeah, heal cover's kind of pathetic at this point in the game. Sepharon does hit kinda hard, but not really that much. Now, if I get rid of one of these spirits, let's see if he does it. Actually, going over there will result in... Let me just Wishblade you. Yeah, the fact that the spirits here also are on very defensive terrain is pretty annoying. But now I can show something that's, like I said, very interesting. Notice how I have no option to attack Sepharon. I can talk to him, though. So, Sanaki and Sepharon both have each other on their pacifism list. Neither of them will attack each other. Just like Grom and Meg. In fact, I think the only other combination of characters that has that going for them is Grom and Meg. So yeah, you cannot attack Sepharon with Sanaki, and Sepharon will not attack her back. What's also interesting is... Don't think you notice the effects, but the effects might show up in her status screen. Oh, now you get SS and fire. Oh, we actually aren't seeing it. That's interesting. I heard that Sanaki actually has a bond support with Sepharon, but maybe the bond supports don't work when you're on opposite sides. And that's exactly enough damage to kill you, isn't it? Ike has a very good boss conversation with Sepharon. Like I mentioned, it's completely different if you do Ike's memory scene. If you didn't, Ike's basically just like, I don't care about anything, you're my enemy, prepare to die. But if you did, it changed a little. Actually, while I'm here... Like I said, this is not going to do anything, but I might as well show this conversation. Yeah, that 5 damage is a complete lie. So be prepared for Mood Whiplash in a few seconds. Yeah. It's kind of implied that Peleus just threw up there in the middle of the conversation. But when I first played this game, I always liked to imagine that he was literally saying, You're going to pay. You're going to blog! And it was some weird battle cry. Oh, you're not doubling those spirits. You are doubling that one though, but you don't actually kill it. But anyway, yeah, he's probably supposed to be throwing up mid-conversation. But anyway, at this point, really all that's left is just stalling this out to get some support on Nasala and Leanne. I really want them to get to an A by the end of the game. Okay, well, there's only one more spirit there. In fact, I might be able to show the guard effects. Although that hit rate is terrible. One of the few times that the marksman thing is making a difference, but let me see if I can show the guard effects. Did it actually not work then? Huh, maybe it doesn't work against long-range attacks. That's interesting. Oh yeah, he does recover 40 HP per turn, so you really need to take him down in one turn, which is not very difficult at all. Adept, please. There we go, but that's still not going to be enough. That is, though. But yeah, if I was playing this, like, purely objectively speaking, I would just take Sepharon down right here, right now, but I really, really need Nasala and Leanne to get to an A support, so I cannot do that just yet. Might get a chance to show Sepharon's battle dialogue with Ike, though. Oh, actually, Micaiah as well. Micaiah has... Oh, she has to actually fight him. She doesn't have... she can't just talk. Micaiah has pretty interesting dialogue with Sepharon as well. And again, Jill does too. And all the Laguz Roars have great dialogue with him as well. A lot of good boss conversations for this guy. Oh, actually, yes, something I want to show here. The spirits have their own faction, and for some really weird reason, it's called Reasoners. Many people think this is a mistranslation and that it's supposed to be elementals. I'm not sure how you get Reasoners out of elementals, but apparently it happened. Oh, hey, parody. Let's do that. That's better. Yeah, parody, in my opinion, it's probably the most improved skill in this game from Path of Radiance, but that's only because terrain is... Like, the terrain in Endgame is just such a huge thing that ignoring it really makes a difference. Nasir's very, very slow, but most things that are magical can't hurt him, and he hits extremely hard. I probably should go ahead and show that, you know what, let's actually fortify now. I may need to hammer on this later, though. Though in the final chapter, we will be getting an even better version of Fortify. But it's exclusive to a second playthrough, and I'll be going into that in a moment. I think that's also, yes, that is cap speed. Yeah, I actually do want to get rid of that spirit, but I probably also want to do this. Yeah, notice that he doesn't fight back against her. I love Sepharon's battle theme. I love his, like, actual theme as well, but his battle theme is also great. That's not gonna work. He will attack Ina, so let's not do that. And, Nasala has pretty decent boss dialogue, too. Leron definitely gives him some competition in the backstabbing department, actually. And yeah, he pretty much fully heals himself, and he's re-warping. I'm guessing he's gonna go... No, he's going there, okay. Yeah, I think he only teleports to those, like, tiles that are specifically marked that way, which means that, and he's getting his spirit shield back up. I still want to try and show that off, because it's an interesting effect. Huh, he didn't get all 4 of them. These spirits, by all rights, should be moving in to shield him, but they're not. That's kind of weird. Well, that one did. Just was a little late. Okay, then. I'm pretty sure Sepharon doubles. We know he's got rewarp equipped. I still want to just try and see if I can show that effect. Can't actually do it there because I need to use a bless weapon. I could do this, but I find Nephi's better at killing off spirits than attacking Sepharon. Well, I guess this could be a way to show off Ike's battle dialogue with Sepharon without completely annihilating him. I think Ike references this speech in Heroes. No, yeah, he does. He says this.
I've had pain. I've had suffering. And I have gotten up and moved on.
And I love this line too. I think he's talking about himself there. Seems like the spirits aren't guarding him. Maybe it isn't guaranteed. Anyway, it's been 4 turns. Okay, I have a plan here. I'm gonna try and finish him this turn, but, let's get you over there to boost up Rolf. And still not do enough damage. Let me just quickly check something. Does Sepharon completely destroy Aaron? Won't know because he has rewarp equipped, but I'm pretty sure that Aaron doesn't get doubled at least. Let's just parity Brave Lance you. I guess I can parity Irvan you. Don't know why I haven't been using parity more often with Jill, I'm kind of dumb. Really should have been using it against those earlier spirits. Sanaki can actually get to this spirit, which is good. I do want to show off Sepharon's special boss conversation with Jill as well. I would have appreciated speed there, but did not get it, unfortunately. I have this distinct feeling that Sepharon's going to teleport again, but we'll see. Well, that was equal to a bonus experience level, which is rare. And nothing. If we had parity, that would probably be doing quite a lot, though. Yeah, depending on how things go, I might actually have Jill finish this. We'll see. Okay, Soren has Hamron. I do need to remember that. Makai gets a level, because why not? And I might need Fortify later. So let's restore that. And A rank, yeah, Peleus can go higher. Not that he's anywhere near close to going higher. He hasn't got Flare at all this chapter, it seems. Valencia's not exactly doing a good job here because, again, no parity. I wish spirits show up as enemies in more Fire Emblem games, though. They're a cool idea, but we only see them this late into Endgame here. Ow. Yeah, that hits very hard if you're right next to him. And yeah, if AoEs don't discriminate, Sanaki still takes damage from it. I hope that didn't put, ow. I hope that didn't put, Mia into kill range, actually. Yeah, notice how it gets weaker the further away you are. Nope, still going for Nasala. Basically, if I can end it next turn and Nasala and Leanne end up getting a support, yeah, I think I'm going to actually Fortify after that. Let's go for Fortify. Probably necessary, but I just want to try that. And it levels up Elincia again, at least. It's not cap skill, though. Let's see if I can get rid of you. So I think that might be more support points for Nasala and Leanne. Okay, so now let me see what... Actually, no, I need to get rid of the spirit first. Parity time. And speaking of parity time, don't actually double him, but oh well. Don't like that 4% crit rate either. Let's see if I can do this actually. So from there, Rolf can get a snipe in on him. And yeah, normally I'd have a Heron here to make this a lot easier, but sadly, at this point, can't really do that. No, I actually have to have Jill go first, because then she can canto out of the way. Wait, no, parity, of course. Oh, parity cancels Blood Tide, though, so no, she's not actually getting affected by Ina. That's interesting, because I feel like there's no way that's completely true. The only reason Sepharon, like, kind of might have had a hand in it is... Oh, we finally get to see him actually use his spell. Looks really cool. But he started the war in Dayan, but that's really all. I like to think that Sepharon, he knows that he's not really responsible for Jill's father's death, but he deliberately says that to egg her on. And as for why he'd want to egg her on, you'll see later on in the chapter. Okay, yeah, I forgot for a second that Edward did not have Nile, but he still would have survived even if Sepharon had got Coroner. So that's good. It's a very cool new spell, though. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Just don't ask me to pronounce it, I've got no clue. Okay, so... I'm gonna battle save here. I'm gonna reload and stall out the chapter for longer if this doesn't result in the Sarah and Leanne getting an A. But for now, yeah, that's actually a pretty bad hit rate. However, I can fix that a little bit. No, I can't. Nasir does not buff skill. But you do. It's a very weird use for rescuing, but I'll take it. And that's the end of this chapter. And Ike's final level up, fittingly. He actually did finally cap out resistance, too. Not to kill the mood, but that probably wins the award for most emo death quote of all time.
What? It can't be true. Our apostle?
Can't believe it myself, but the senators made an announcement. It must be true.
Pardon me? Has something happened to the apostle?
Oh, my Lord, save the apostle. She's dead.
What? How?
According to the senator's announcement, she was assassinated by the Serenus Herons.
They look so gentle, like they couldn't harm a fly. But they're nothing but beasts, no better than the other subhumans.
Peace, friends. This is simply not possible. The Heron tribe could never assassinate anyone.
She's dead, isn't she? Those damn subhumans, every last one of them's got to die for the apostle.
That's the truth. They're nothing but monsters. Oh, I wish I could kill them myself.
You can. Grab a weapon, grab a torch. Come on, we'll burn that forest to ash and wipe them all out.
No, you mustn't.
What's wrong, my Lord Sage? You don't look well. Are you feeling all right?
Wings! From the Satan's back! Wings! He's one of them! He's a monster!
You're nothing but a lying, subhuman piece of filth! How dare you pretend to be one of us? Get him!
The medallion must be quelled. I cannot allow this madness to come to pass. Judgment. The goddess's judgment. What have they done? The forest, the trees, the herons were innocent. Why? medallion. I must quell the chaotic energies. Must calm them. Oh, no! Chaos! Madness! So much anger! So much pain!
You who have lost your birthright?
And yet now that I've met you, I understand. There is no shame in my heritage. None at all.
In deference to you, I will place my faith in your kind one last time.
Why? Why was my family taken? Why? Why was my forest destroyed? The apostle did not deserve this fate. Killed by her innocence. Her murderers free to seize power. This is monstrous. This world does not need Bjork, and the Lagoos are deeply flawed. There's no need to wait for the Covenant's 1,000 years. Awaken, O goddess, awaken and judge.
I edited that flashback slightly to add in some things that were in the extended script in the Japanese version. But now we finally know the full truth. The Serenades massacre was the tipping point that pushed Sepharon, or rather Leron, over the edge, finally, after all those years. So yeah, like before, See, that makes me wonder though about Altina. Altina clearly wasn't immortal, but I wonder if Sephiron's lifespan was drastically extended by the mantle ability that Asher bestowed on him, and maybe he was physically incapable of dying except to unite less weapons. Oh, and by the way, now that we know that Sepharon is Leron, we now know that Sepharon is actually Sanaki's multiple great-grandfather. So, he was right from a certain point of view when he said he was like a father to her. They actually are family. And this is normally where the scene ends. But if you viewed Ike's memory scene, this happens. The extended script specifically mentions Micaiah's sacrifice skill as well. If the door's open, that means he died, right? It's a bit weird how this correlates to viewing Ike's memory scene. It doesn't make that much sense to me, but this is a second playthrough exclusive thing. Oh, and this is interesting. Some sources for the script, such as Serenae's Forest, say Micaiah is too exhausted to participate in the next battle. Maybe the European version corrected this line, because that version of the line's definitely not true. Micaiah does fight in the next battle, so yeah, maybe that line was corrected. We saw this in the flashback. Sepharon convinced Ashera to only seal Yune rather than destroy her outright. This whole exchange is pretty great too. He's had a hard day. I love how Yune describes someone who was so suicidally depressed they almost ended the entire world and just basically died as having a hard day. And on that note, we head out to the final battle. Oh, and Sanaki gets that, which is really just to make sure that she doesn't get one-shotted by the final boss. So, with Sepharon defeated, but given one last chance to redeem himself, we'll move on to the final battle. Will he take that chance? We'll see. Next time we face the goddess herself, and bring the Telia saga to a close.